He's known as Savia the monk. I call him Sbuda the monk. He's here with me in studio, and we're going to be grappling with the question of what is love. Please call us now. What do you understand love to be? What is that? Why is it important? Why is it a relevant conversation at this point in time? He joins me now in the studio. Sbuda, are you well?
I'm well, Aubrey.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. What is love?
Very big question and a very important question. Love can be described in many nuanced ways, in many gradations. But I'd like to begin from its most sublime definition. Love is the absolute truth. It is the supreme attracting force. It is the energy of transaction between the supreme person and his parts and parcels. Love is what makes life meaningful. It is the basis of happiness. It is a spiritual principle. Therefore, it is not easy to understand it while we're in our conditioned state. So in discussing love, we have to also first understand what is our qualification to deal in love. We're establishing that love is a spiritual principle. It is free from selfishness. It only seeks to please the beloved. It doesn't consider one's own personal agendas and needs. So when we hear this, you may be thinking, I don't generally feel like this towards certain beloveds, because our platform brings love down to the transactional platform, where I'm always thinking, what's in it for me? I'm always in a sort of a business that I have done 1, 2, 3, and I expect certain types of reciprocation. Love is described that even when there's reason for love to terminate, still, it never terminates. So we don't live in that type of dimension these days. Even at the slightest provocation, what was love between two unspoken, simply vibrational connection becomes even loud, screaming, and still there's no connection of hearts, no hearing each other. So this energy of love is what sustains the condition of happiness and peace. It is the natural vibration of our eternal existence.
I'm hearing you say that love is a very, very big thing. It is so big that our minds and collective experiences cannot contain it. But we are contained by a particular dimension, manifestation. And so we see love, this big thing, from the lens of this containment. And that the lens of this containment gives us a very limited understanding of love, which is far more sublime, far bigger, far more essential than what our containedness can contain. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we're dealing with something categorically different from where we are. And just to appreciate that, we can assess what is our position. That our current position is that our perceptions are finite. This means our senses are limited. Our mind's conceptions are also fallible. Our intelligence is also very fickle. Our heart's convictions are also fragile. So we are sort of at a disadvantage to actually demand or expect to deal in love. And when I say love, I mean pure love. We have variations of that which we can understand as different degrees of lust. Lust would mean that there's a desire for personal sense gratification, whereas love is free from any desire for personal gratification, but it's simply for the beloved. It's like comparing day and night, or iron and gold. They're both metals, but they're completely like diametrically opposed almost.
If we are so thoroughly limited in our understanding, appreciation, and perhaps even experience of love, one, is it possible in this state to appreciate love in its purest form? That's the first question I want to ask. But given the fact that our current reality is this contained, dare I say, even imprisoned experience of our senses that lend the experience of love to only be a lustful experience, should we even be talking about the purest form of love? And how do we deal in the best possible way with our experience of love in our dimensional reality?
Yes, love is the main juice of life. So we definitely have to be concerned to understand it and to aspire for pure love, because nothing less than pure love of the Supreme will fulfill the heart of the living being. And because we are in this contained environment and with these limitations, so we want freedom from this situation. And fortunately for us, love, well, is founded on freedom. That means that if I want someone to love me, typical boy-girl scenario, and I pull out a gun and I put to her head and I say, you should love me. Out of fear of losing her life, she may say, okay, I accept, I love you. But then actually love has to be given freely. So without freedom, whatever is offered in the form of love is based on some insecurity, some fear. And when love is given freely, it seems to take away our freedom, because people want exclusive love. And this principle is not just on our level, it goes all the way to the purest forms of love. It demands exclusive, uninterrupted, one-pointed attention. So the discussion of love gives us hope, because without love, life is such a sad situation. Therefore, the saints say, employ me in your service and give me love as a salary.
Whatever 1-883-0702, we're still messing around in the very, very ethereal sort of space of this conversation. I'm interested to find out, how do we, because even the most nefarious amongst us would even argue that I do this out of love. The most manipulative amongst us would say that we do this because I love you. Politicians amongst us will say we do this, we drink this champagne on a hot day because we love you. Those of you who stand in the sun, not having the champagne to drink, we do it because we love you. And so many people look at the conversation around love with slanted eyes of suspicion.
Yes.
Because love, and the idea of love, has been used most of the time to manipulate. The parent of a young man who has died in war looks at this idea of patriotism, nationalism, which is a form of love,
Love of country.
love of country, with great suspicion and distrust, because her son has been killed for love of country. The woman who is abused by her husband under the pretext of love, that you made me do this, you made me hit you, and I did it because I love you. So love becomes a very, very suspicious conversation for many people who have been the victims of cruelty under its name.
Yes.
Why? Why would we be talking about love on a secular radio station at night when we could be talking about Dr. Thorpe, who's lecturing people in Parliament and telling them about Africanness and all of these wonderful things that we could be talking about? Smoother.
Because this love springs from deep within each individual. It is the essential vibration of life. Look, we have experience, Aubrey, and the listeners know this, that we want this unconditional love, for example. But our experience tells us that no, this love seems to be full of conditions. It's not pure, it's a business. But we don't want to give up on the idea. Why? Because we know unconditional love. I say, like some rich man who becomes
Is that what some people call natural justice?
natural. Yeah, you would say natural because it just, you cannot not want it. It's like even if we write 1,000 books to say love doesn't exist, still every soul hankers for unconditional love.
So there's an inherent, innate impetus
Yes.
for this thing
Yes.
that tonight we are going to call love.
Yes.
Okay?
Because it is the experience of everyone in relationship with the Supreme. That's why when I started, I made these two categories. That outside of pure love, selfless love, it is just different degrees of lust in the name of altruism, nationalism, patriotism, family relations, whatever it may be. It has lost its original sparkle. So in the desert, there is no water really, but because we have experience of the power of water to quench thirst, still in the desert one looks for water. So we're in this desert of material life, where love is now lust. I was speaking to some friends just recently, my tribals. I said about love that it is lust wearing a hoodie, but then you just like that hoodie. It just resonates with you. But underneath that hoodie is someone who's here simply for their own benefit.
Whenever we speak of lust, it's usually associated with sexual lust.
But in this case, we mean when one just wants to fulfill their own ends, for my pleasure, for my senses, for my mind, for my interests. So, yes, the champion poster child of lust is sex. And sexual,
That's the hoodie.
that's the hoodie, you could say, with the different decorations on it. So the champion of it is sex desire, but it has many, many layers. That even if that's not the primary motivation, if I like how I feel when I'm around you, I appreciate your intelligence, therefore I'm happy to be with you. I appreciate your influence, I want to enjoy your wealth, all of these permutations of lust, because they have nothing to do with you, but everything to do with how I feel
And what I can get
what I can
from
get
that relationship.
from that relationship.
And that is the fundamental attribute of lust. That it is about what I can get from this relationship. I I couch it as though it is a relationship, but it's actually a moment of masturbation, of intellectual or spiritual masturbation. I'm pleasing myself through you, vicariously through you. And it's got nothing to do with you, but everything to do with me. And fundamentally, you're saying to me that that is the lust part. Are you therefore saying that love has a more egalitarian character to it? Love?
Yes.
That which is not lust, but is love? Are you saying that it has a more egalitarian, more...
It's more expansive.
Okay.
It starts to move away from I and mine. It starts to speak the language of we. It is connected in seeing everything in its relationship with the source of everything. So it seeks to validate everyone's relationship to the source of love. It seeks to connect and serve. You could say the basis of actual love is service. In this world, the highest form of love is exhibited by the mother for the child. And if you study that relationship, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifice that the mother puts to raise this little one.
Hence, the term or the idiomatic expression in Sesotho that says, "Mme o tshwara thipa ka bogale." Mme. What we've done over time is that we've perverted that saying, and we've said mosadi o tshwara thipa ka bogale, which is the direct translation is a woman holds the knife in the sharp end of the knife. But actually, you're saying to me that the original is the mother holds the knife on the sharp end. And you're saying that that is perhaps the purest expression of love in this contained dimension.
Yes.
Yes.
So that can help us to start seeing how far maybe or how close we are to that standard. And that is just, if you cross over to pure love, it just gets sweeter and sweeter. Just like if you would taste the sweetness of sugarcane seeds, then sugarcane plant, then the molasses that is there, then the sugar candy itself, then it's rock candy. So the sweetness of that experience is endless. But we have this curtain or this ceiling of selfish, misidentified position where we are missing out on that which we actually want from deep within our hearts.
Tsegobatsoma, Tleledise says, hi, 702 Orbs. Love is the primary reason there is creation. Love as subject needs an object so that rotation can begin. The whole creation, says Tsegofatso, is an object, a sign of love. On X, Katlego Mohoje says, Aubrey, when we start putting an adjective before the noun love, i.e. real love, etc., then we are deviating a bit from defining it. Love has no measure, says Katlego. Takes me back to the days of Sonnet 116 in the classroom when we had to discuss it, says Katlego Mohoje. Give me a call, 118830702. Savia the monk, Spuda the monk, is here with me. We're talking about love. I'm still looking for why it's important. The reason why I am looking for that, Spuda, is that the topic of love, not love itself, but the topic of love, as you've said, has lost its savor. It's lost its zing, it's lost its power because it's been so cliched, so commercialized over time, so romanticized, so abused by many different and very often good intentions. Yeah? That, as I said earlier on, has become a subject of much suspicion. In fact, we find that whenever people declare love, as you've correctly, I suppose, characterized the conversation, it's usually because they are setting us up for a transactional relationship where they will benefit the most. How do we find love again? How do we get back to the savor of love again in a way that is going to be experienced and expressed such that we remember what we remember, such that we remember that which we sometimes have not experienced before? Ongulo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to see it in the proper light. When we see anything separate from the Creator, separate from the source that makes it a substance, makes it live, makes it exist, then we don't see it correctly, and therefore we approach it incorrectly. So if we don't see each other as parts and parcels of God, then we are unable to offer our time and energy, patience, for your benefit on behalf of the Supreme. So love takes it needs a basis of sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice that must be there, because our foot that we're leading with the foot of selfishness. It's just difficult not to think about your own interest. That is what material consciousness means. So why we have to consider love is because love ultimately gives meaning to our existence. It's actually when there's no love, no matter what arrangements one makes in this life, then there's a gaping hole of dissatisfaction. It's like you're missing the mark because you don't have the primary ingredient. You could say it's a ring, but it doesn't have the diamond on top. There's no icing on the cake. So, like we need oxygen, love is that fuel for the spiritual being.
But you seem to be suggesting that in order for me to experience the love that you're talking about, in other words, in order for me to be part of this celestial dance between love, the lover, and the beloved, I have to somehow be connected to some divine consciousness. Are you suggesting that we gotta be religious somehow to experience love in the way that we ought to experience it? Are you saying to me that we've got to somehow live by an external code of consciousness in order for us to move according to the rhythm of love?
Yeah, I'm saying first you have to be conscious to become spiritually conscious, or to speak of God conscious. So we are spiritual beings. And if we're not aware of what we are, then we are always in error because we think we are that which we are not. I give the example of the man who doesn't know where to put food. When he eats, someone says, well, there's a hole on the body where you put the food. So there are many holes on the body. So if you try different holes and it's not the mouth, then you cannot enjoy any meal or get its nourishment. So if I don't know who I am, then how do I propose to benefit myself? Because if I think I'm this body, which is dust to dust, ashes to ashes, that means whatever I'm getting on the physical plane is doomed by time. Death will separate it from me. And what's the capacity of the senses, really? So now, love being an ever-increasing platform of joy and bliss and knowledge and connection requires us to upgrade our existence to a pure standard of spirituality. Otherwise, we just continue to deal with lust in its different permutations. It feels like love because it's the shadow of love. So we're chasing the shadow, but it's not substance. So we need to move towards substance. And in that way, you'll find that religion becomes maybe an educational platform to help us move towards the spiritual platform. The spiritual platform takes us to the devotional platform, the love platform.
Somebody once said to me that the finger that points to the moon is not the moon. Yeah. And you used the analogy a few moments ago of the hoodie, the garment that covers the lust, that we sometimes like. And sometimes we like the finger, sometimes that is pointing to the moon more than the moon, is what you're saying to me. How do we make the distinction? In other words, how do we get to a place where we understand that the conversation about love, that the platforms for the education about love, that the conversation about love, as intriguing as it is not itself love? How do we recognize love itself and not get caught up in the lust of the intellectual process that can sometimes manifest itself as religion, politics, hedonism? Huh? Talking.
Humility. Humility is the ground upon which revelation and more revelation can descend into the heart. But it's not that you're just humble in a corner. Like anything in life, we have to be actively engaging and educating ourselves. So there is the education, spiritual education, and every society has its syllabuses on spiritual development. So a human being who doesn't commit to this probe into what is substance versus what is shadow, then necessarily cheats themselves. So, teacher, guru, we have to approach those who are focused on the subject of divinity, the subject of spirituality, the subject of selfless service, those who are widening their scope of love. Then from that interaction, we start to value that insight, and then we start to correct our lives and try to align ourselves with these principles that help us to grow on that platform. Otherwise, everything around us is just infused with the spirit of profit, exploitation, lust. And it's a low vibration world that we're in. But they use the things that are pulling us from within to sell the dream.
What does it look like? What does it feel like beyond the platforms and the packages of it? What does it look like? What does it feel like?
It feels that one moment without you feels like a millennium. Without seeing the beauty of the beloved, this blinking of the eyelids, it feels like 100 years or more. We curse the Creator for even creating eyelids that we cannot see the beauty of the beloved. We desire millions of tongues to speak about the beloved. One is not enough. Ears to hear the sweetness of the beloved. We feel that whether you embrace me and crush me or you kick me, you're free to do anything and everything. I'm always your loving servant. We aspire even for the least in that dimension, even if I can be a dust particle at your feet, that would fulfill all my desires. We feel that even the greatest suffering, if it would bring even an iota of pleasure to your face, that is my greatest happiness. So this is a consciousness unimagined by anyone who's fettered in matter. It is a consciousness which is revealed by those who have crossed beyond this false identification, this bodily identification.
Is that experience for everybody? Will everybody? Can all manifested beings experience what you've just described?
It is especially available for the human being who is pursuing one step towards love. We get 100 steps from love towards us. It's a matter of getting the desire right.
You sound like you've just personified that love steps. Is love a person?
Yes. Love is the ultimate beloved, the ideal of all beings that we, in our own uniqueness, envision. Love is that personality who is able to reciprocate with unlimited beings exactly to their particular taste, and who is within the heart of all, who can even smell the scent of our different desires.
You know, I like to say to my wife, I really dig her. She's such a cool chick.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I do. It intrigues me how daily I just get it. You know what I mean? And I say, you know, you love me right. Listen, I've been around the block.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just gonna keep it at that level. And I say, you just love me right. You love me the way that this thing called Aubrey is supposed to be loved. That is, and I say, I've been around the block, you know. Been around the world and yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Instead of kisses, we get
kicked. No. and I know that I've also been kicked.
You've kicked
and
also.
I've kicked too. But it's that moment of just finding the right fit that makes you taste it sweeter and sweeter all the time. It gets sweeter and sweeter all the time. It's man, I don't want to wax lyrical about it, but that's what you're talking about. It's in the romantic sense, finding the beloved romantically. It's in the friendship sense, finding the beloved in the friendship sense. So what you're saying is that yes, it has flesh, it has a person, it is a person. And sometimes it can be just your wife, it can be just your friend, it can be your parent, it can be, but it is the connection of being able to find the right hole to put the right food into, is what you're saying.
Yes, because it's so all-encompassing. In one sense, we're sort of zooming in on the personal aspects of divinity. But because the whole manifestation of reality is a manifestation from that loving being, so that can be experienced wherever one gazes and focuses in a selfless, compassionate way, a non-exploitive way. One begins to feel that energy of love and connection.
I want to take calls. They're coming in, taking fast. Sim says on the WhatsApp line, Sambona, Ish, Smuda, the monk, has really got me confused now. Yebo, Mama is the ultimate lover to her child, but how was the child conceived? Intimacy or lust? Asks Sim. And then somebody says, hi, Orbs, I am in love with a narcissist. What a mess. And I've seen religious people who have expressed the same thing, that I love the devotion, I love the ritual of where I am, the platform, but it is draining something out of me. I want you to talk a little bit about that. And then FFW says, hi, Aubrey and Xavier the monk. No, it's Xavier the monk. Do here. Hey, do. He says, Ouspensky states in Tertium Organum that love is a cosmic phenomenon and opens to man the fourth dimensional world, the world of the wondrous, he says. He says, real love is selfless and free from fear. It pours itself out upon the objects of its affection without demanding any return. Its joy is in the joy of giving. Love is God in manifestation and the strongest magnetic force in the universe, pure, unselfish. Love draws to itself its own. It does not need to seek or demand. Scarcely anyone has the faintest conception of real love. Man is selfish, tyrannical, or fearful in his affections, thereby losing the thing he loves. It says FFW.
There was a comment about the child being conceived and the mother loves her. What's the basis? So yes, there must be desire. There must be lust that is engaged so that conception is there. But the act of serving and nurturing creates love. It may start off from it's my child, therefore I serve it, therefore I take care of it. But the more one sacrifices on behalf of another without looking for anything back, the deeper the quality of
I've done a bit of reading around the idea of tantric sex and tantric love. And sometimes people will give the impression that desire is a wrong thing, it's bad. Especially when we talk about eros love. Tantric Vedas talk about the fact that even in that space, the desire should be to serve. Even at that level of carnality, we should be desiring to serve. Yeah.
Yes, you see that and you hear that from partners,
Yeah.
that they will appreciate better someone who's concerned about serving,
Yes,
and pleasing them.
rather than me getting my portion.
Fix.
Yeah,
Yes.
my fix. There you go.
So that principle again underlies that, and you can see that also pleasure and joy is actually also founded in love. That even in carnality, even in the grossest platforms, you find people chanting the name of the Creator, appreciating the source of actual love and pleasure when they experience just a fragrance of the ocean of love in the form of carnal pleasures. Still, it is exciting, that desire to connect with that ocean of love.
I'm told we have to stop this conversation. We need to talk about time at some point.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're going to talk about time.
Yes.
As we close, what do you say to your listeners? What do you say to people that are listening to us?
That be encouraged about the Lord in the heart, the guide of all. Be encouraged about love and love of God. In the Bhagavad Gita, love is described as being broad-minded. No force is there. But love is also not reckless. We are given the tools to grow the intellectual capacity to move towards love so that we are successful in our search of love.
How do people get in touch with you?
I'm on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube as Savia the Monk. Savya the Monk. Savia the Monk.
Find him, Savia the Monk. I call him Smuda the Monk, but find him as Savia the Monk. It's been great talking to you. Really enjoyed talking to you.
The next generation of CEOs, executives, and business leaders this Mandela Day with